It's clear you guys are enjoying this breakfast too much. You're interacting, talking amongst each other. We got to stop that. Okay? We have a meeting to run. First of all, I want to thank Rich Moskowitz and Mike Rosenbaum, and who else worked on this morning's breakfast? Can you please stand? We owe you a big Steve, Bob, Ned. Thank you, guys. Eli, Marty, thank you all very much. All right.
Barry also worked.
Barry, he couldn't stand. He's not athletic enough to stand up. Anyway, thank you, guys. We do appreciate it. Number two, the Bring a Book, Take a Book exchange has started. We had a dozen books there. I brought in about 6 and took 2 in exchange. They're right over there. For me, the worst place for a book is on a shelf. Books are to be read. They're not to look pretty on a shelf. And when Ed Silver emailed me with the suggestion, I thought it was really great. So I brought a few, and let's do it more often. I'm sure we all have a ton of books in our house gathering dust, and this is an opportunity to share it. We have new calendars on our tables. All right, for those of you who don't know the Jewish calendar, it starts in September. So it's on your desk now, or on your tables now. There are also the little calendars there as well? Great. Okay, thank you. Who brought them in? Mike, did you bring them in? Thank you, Mike. What else? You raised it? Yes, we are collecting toiletries. They're over here. I got a bag full over here. Okay, you got some more? Just add it to this yellow bag that's down there.
People already give me a lot of glasses, eyeglasses.
Yes, eyeglasses came, and a ton of telephones came. All right, and Larry is hoarding them for himself. He's planning to go to the women's shelter himself. Is that where it goes? Women's shelter? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Because he wants to check out the women at the shelter. So. Anyway, but he's got a whole bag full of cell phones. So thank you guys who brought it in. What do you got? Not you? All right. Anyway, these types of things really take junk out of our basements and give it to people who can use it. So thank you all very, very much. Anything else? Ed Stein has given out tickets to the show they were going to on December 15th. All right, that's all done. I even got my tickets. The challenge for me will be to have the tickets on December 15th, because I'm not good at that. Anything else that we need to talk about? David.
Yeah, I just want to talk about the Arts, Books, and Cultural Festival, which is absolutely fantastic. The club bought tickets for Len Berman and David Jababout.
What?
Len Berman was a name from the past. Jababout was I never heard before. It was absolutely fantastic. I was able to sell 8 of the 10 tickets, so the club's taking it in the neck for 2. And those of you that were there also had a nice beer tasting opportunity. In terms of what's coming up in the near future here at the JCC, Randy sent out an email on pressing Israel about the media bias, and there's going to be a meeting here. It's going to be on Thursday, the 29th, which is this coming Thursday. It's free, and hopefully we'll get a very good turnout, because obviously this is something that we're very interested in. I know we've heard from Mike on the same subject many times. So this looks like a very interesting meeting. And then finally, for those of you that have nothing to do on Christmas Eve, We've got Laughter and Lo Mein here as a comedian and a one-man show, and I'm sure there's Lo Mein that goes with a comedian. The price is $20 for a JCC member and $30 for a non-member. No, that is 6:30 on Monday, December 24th, and on the 29th, which is the Pressing Israel, it's 7 o'clock right here in the JCC. Both of them at JCC.
Dave doesn't really do justice to the arts, books, and culture program. It was absolutely excellent. All right. I went to 2 presentations, one by Len Berman, not our Len Berman, but the Len Berman, the sportscaster, who did an excellent job talking about sports over the last 30 years, and who's the best of this, and who's the best of that, and who's the worst of this, and the worst of that. And he wrote a few books about it, and he talked about it, and it was excellent. The second one, there's a guy, I can't remember his name. Javabaum is his last name. His first. David Javabaum. David Javabaum. I saw him for an hour and a half, and yet I can't remember his name because I was too busy laughing. The guy was hysterically funny. Dave made the introduction, and he did a fine job, and then this guy got up, and he had a deadpan humor that was unbelievable. He was so good, and we didn't stop laughing. So those of you who have the opportunity to go to an event next year, take that opportunity, because these programs are really good.
And Jerry, don't forget the beer introduction.
Oh, and yes, in the vestibule there were different beers to try, little cups, and I tried a couple of different ales that were rather interesting, which I decided I will not buy, but they were rather interesting to try. Okay. The other people who do want to speak, Mr. Finkelstein.
Again, September 23rd. Yes.
Speak into the microphone.
Hello, Mike. September 23rd,
no, Mike's over there.
There was a bike ride in Pennsylvania called the Tour de Schules. Everybody who participated, including I, got one of these T-shirts. This was a 45-mile ride to raise money for Camp Ramah in the Poconos. These were the sponsors, and I noticed that Congregation Bethel's Men's Club was one of the sponsors. Most of the sponsors, men's clubs, of course, were from Pennsylvania, but next year the ride is going to be held here in New Jersey, and one of the organizers, Joey Swerdlow, has already asked me to help volunteer set up the route, but he's also indicated he's going to need help from the men's clubs locally to be marshals, to be at the route, to point out where the riders have to go, and to be at the rest stops to help serve food. So we're going to hear more about it. It'd be nice to see South Jersey Men's Club's name on this shirt next year.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Perloff.
I just want to reaffirm something that Dave said about the meeting Thursday night of the authors of the book Pressing Israel. I actually helped with reviewing it before it was released. And these guys know their stuff, and I would very much urge you, if you have any interest in how to look at the news and sometimes what you hear from the broadcasters, the way they just say different things and describe different things about Israel, it makes it sound like Israel's a bad guy. And their history is wrong, their background is wrong, their motivation for what happens is wrong. And the fellows who wrote this book, Lee Bender and Jerry Berlin, pointed out in detail quite nicely, and I urge you to attend the meeting.
Mike, stay here for a minute, because I want to show everybody that Mike is our version of the Iron Dome. No, the strength of his character and support of Israel. Dick Knopf.
Come on. Okay, where's the mic?
It's on him.
Oh, it is on you. Holy cow.
Just stand nearby.
I just wanted to, first of all, we have a new member that just joined us, in Vitaly Petrashvili. Vitaly, stand up, take a bow. And Jack Goldstein is here as a guest. So that's And the other thing is, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, get up and, I'm sorry, I forget your name. And tell us a little bit about yourself. No, you don't want to?
Give Vitaly the time to give Vitaly the time to talk.
Is that all right with you?
Yeah. Yes, no, we don't have a guest yet.
Vitaly, tell us a little bit about...
You're our newest member. Come on up.
Yeah. I know you're not ready, but that's okay. Come on up. Come on up.
Stand back more.
How does that feel?
Stand back more, I'm told.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your company, and so forth.
I came from previous Soviet Union Republic, Azerbaijan. It's like south part of the Soviet Union. Right now it's a separate country from city Baku. I mean, because I'm Jewish. Yeah, even the country where I live is actually the Muslim country, but more like European style country. And it's still the same right now, even after separation. Live in the United States for 22 years. There's a whole family here. I have 2 kids, 2 daughters. We mostly time spent in the financial field in the beginning. And for the last like 5 years, I'm in a healthcare business, doing the home care business. For the providing service for the elderly people. And this is where I am right now.
Welcome. Welcome.
I got one other thing. If anybody is missing their name tag, or like Jerry Feldman, we never got you one, Jerry, apologize. You can blame the other Jerry, or you can blame me. I get blamed for a lot of things.
We'll blame you.
Good, I'll accept the blame. But if you don't have a name tag, please let me know. If you joined and lost it, we'll be happy to replace it. Did I get that right, Jerry? Do anything else you want me to say about me?
Just spell Jerry right.
Can I tell you?
But if you don't have a name tag, or if your name tag is broken, or for any other reason you need to replace it, please see Dick today so that we can ask Jerry to make them for us. Jerry has made a new one in a new design, okay, right here. So if you think I look pretty, this is the reason why I look really good today.
You need more than that.
Thank God my kids love me. But okay, Michael, you have something else. We are waiting for our guest speaker, and I'm stretching.
Yeah, I'd like to, some years ago, like maybe 10 or so years ago, we had a series of programs where our members would speak what it was like to be Jewish in other countries. So we had a guy who's still a member, Alex Ibrahim Zadeh, spoke being Jewish in Iran. We had someone speak about being Jewish in Argentina during the Perón years. And we had a series of others. How many would like to hear that again? That type of thing. Okay. I think you've got a job coming up sometime. All right, that was about it. Unless you want to speak about Gaza and what's happening.
Yes, I would love to. Since we are stretching, we're told that our speaker is here somewhere lost in the building. Okay, so let's stretch. And the way I'd like to do it, there's so much that has gone on in Israel over the past month that I would love somebody, all right, Eli, Ben, to tell us their perspective of what's going on, since you have family there. All right, tell us the latest perspective of what's going on. I know this is catching you guys cold, but I'm just trying to fill time and space. Do either one of you guys want to talk? Ben, would you like to? I've never known you to be shy.
You probably know as much as I do what you read in the papers. Obviously, the ceasefire is holding right now. The question is how long it's going to hold. One of the problems that the media does not emphasize is that on the Palestinian side, it's not a government in a sense. Hamas rules Gaza, but it's not really, they don't have control over it. There's a lot of other terrorist groups. Mike is probably an expert more on this kind of groups. And even though Hamas signed the ceasefire agreement, some small terrorist group, which might have 50 members, might decide to fire, you know, some mortars, a couple of missiles, and, you know, the whole conflagration will start again. And so it's sort of an imbalance. On the one hand, you have Israel, which has a government, a structure, and, you know, when they agree to something, they keep it. You know, it's not like a bunch of Israelis here and there are firing missiles at will. But we don't have it on the other side, and that's why those kind of ceasefires will never work, unfortunately. So while there might be some a period of relatively quiet, peaceful coexistence, it could erupt again anytime. The Israeli press, left and right, actually lauded Netanyahu for holding back, for being restrained. This time for not sending the troops. On the other hand, there was a poll taken in Israel, I guess 2 days ago, showed that 50% of the people felt that they should have sent the troops into Gaza, you know, and supposedly finish the job. They tried it before, and
they didn't finish the
no,
job.
you cannot finish the job. You have to be realistic too. Mike, how many people are in Gaza? 1.2 million, more maybe now? 1.6 million. I mean, unless you kill 1.6 million people, it's never going to go away. And obviously, that's never going to happen.
How big is Hamas? Does anybody know? There's the numbers, the strength of numbers?
How big is what?
Hamas. It's basically a secret organization, so you never have the number. And Arabs all around the world have a tendency of exaggerate everything.
One thing to remember is Hamas is officially, in their charter, the Gaza chapter of the Muslim Brotherhood, which now controls Egypt.
Right.
And just yesterday, after Morsi, the new president of Egypt, after he was lauded for I guess, engaging both parties to get this ceasefire, he is now under fire himself in Egypt, and there are major demonstrations in Tahrir Square because it looked like he's now trying to consolidate his control and create a dictatorship in Egypt. Surprise, surprise, that they're going to try to have another dictatorship. Go ahead.
Okay, as part of the ceasefire, you might not know, the United States has agreed to build a fence between Gaza and Egypt in the Sinai. And the people that guard that fence are partly U.S. troops. So we are now sending combat troops over to...
Wow. Great. Great. Okay. Day before yesterday, because I read what's going on in Israel all the time, I read where 300 Gazan demonstrators, all right, forcibly attacked or provoked an attack in southern Israel at the Gazan-Israeli border, and went into this no-go zone, which we call a demilitarized zone, all right, and attacked and threw stones and did all this stuff. And then Israel responded and shot a few. Okay. Last night on the network news, it's Israelis attacked Palestinians on the Palestinian, on the Gazan side of the border. All right, that was NBC nightly news. All right, so that's why this this Thursday night presentation is so important. I go to all of them because you don't even realize the subtleties of what they say. You have to know the background of these stories, and it's up to us as Jews to know the background of stories and represent that to all our friends and acquaintances who don't understand the subtleties. Don.
Question. Nelson, was that fence between Egypt or Gaza?
They haven't put it up yet, but it's between Egypt and Gaza to prevent the missiles and the rockets from being sent into the Gaza Strip.
You mean smuggled in?
Yes, smuggled.
Smuggled in, sent. No, I don't think you can use the word smuggled, because the Egyptians saw them going over the border.
So are all these missiles have been going through Egypt?
Yeah, well, they're going through Egypt and over the Mediterranean.
Last month, Israel sent bombers to the Sudan and bombed a giant warehouse. And this warehouse was holding missiles built in Iran, which were then being funneled from the Sudan to Egypt and across the Sinai and into Gaza. Okay, these airplanes not only bombed it, but sent a message to Iran that Israel now has the power to go that far, which means they can go to Tehran. All right, so there was an additional message there. Mike?
Yeah, if you want to understand a lot more about the Arab-Israeli conflict, by the way, notice I said Arab-Israeli. Arab-Israeli, who's David and Goliath? I didn't say the Israel-Palestinian. Israel-Palestinian, who's David and Goliath. So make sure you don't say Israel-Palestinian. It's Arab-Israeli. If you want to understand it, read some official documents, not books, not well-written op-eds, some official documents. Read the Muslim Brotherhood's charter, Hamas charter, and Hezbollah charter. But more important, the fourth thing, it'll blow you away. It's like reading a script for everything that's been happening since 1993. The 1974 PLO phase plan for the liberation of Palestine. It's like reading the book of what's happening today, and you'll know what they want to do tomorrow. The phase plan for the liberation of Palestine. And both Arafat and Abbas referred to it in their speeches because they were both going to be strung up by their constituency for the Oslo Peace Accords and for other things. And both times they would say, at this phase of the plan, everything is fine. And the other thing would be, this you won't remember, Hudaybiyah, the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. They refer to this over and over and over. And you need to read translations of the media and speeches in Arabic. But when they say Hudaybiyah, Muhammad had a treaty, and it's in the Quran, where he could not beat, his forces could not beat this tribe. So they had a 10-year treaty. At the end of the second year, these forces were strong enough, and they went in and wiped them out, sold them into slavery, and that was the end of that tribe. The Treaty of Hudaybiyah, and they refer to it. Okay? So you got the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, the phase plan for the liberation of Palestine, and the foundation documents for Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Muslim Brotherhood. It'll blow you away. Many of these things are like reading stuff about the Nazi anti-hate, anti-Semitic stuff. They say, kill Jews. They say it. And when people support these groups, they don't realize they're supporting those goals. Okay, that's it. Look those things up, and you'll be more of an expert than 99.
Hi. Hello. Our speaker is Don Melnick. He's going to tell us about Krav Maga. It's a form of, probably going out on a limb saying it's Israeli karate. He's here to tell you all about it, and I welcome him. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Dave. Appreciate it. Hey, guys, how you doing?
How you doing?
Morning. So, quick question. I'll take a little pop quiz. Who here knows, has a general idea of what Krav Maga is? All right, go ahead.
Well, I saw a demonstration
South Philly about 3 years, couple of years.
Okay.
It's like basically kicking and self-defense, you know, just to protect yourself.
Yep, protect yourself. Anybody else want to add to that? All right, well, I'll fill you in then.
I was going to say, it's a system devised to, as quickly and as dramatically as possible, subdue or disable your predator.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's really good. I'll tell you what, by telling you what Krav Maga is, I'll tell you what Krav Maga is not. It's not sport. It's not tournament or competition fighting. There's no rules. There's no referee. It's all about ending a bad situation as quickly as possible and getting the heck out of there. It's not about sticking around and seeing who wins. There's no prizes or trophies in Krav Maga. The trophy that you get in Krav Maga is that you get home safe at the end of the day. That's your goal. That's your objective. You get home, lock the door, go to sleep, wake up, you get to play again tomorrow. That's really it. On the street, there's no rule. We have a motto of there are no rules on the street. And what that means is the bad guys don't have any rules or ethics or morals or code of conducts, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get what they want, whether it's your money, your car, your life, kidnapping situations, for women, sexual assault scenarios, and they don't care. They have an objective, you're in their way, they're going to get whatever they want from you. You have to have the mentality of, I'm not going to let anything happen to me, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to not let bad things happen and protect myself. Obviously within the law, you know, there's certain things you can't do. If somebody just points their finger at me, I can't run up there, take a knife and stab it in their head and terminate the threat. Well, you know, you could, you'd probably get in trouble, but there's, you know, one of the things that we focus on in Krav Maga is civic responsibility, doing only enough to diffuse a situation and get out of there and be safe. So I'm not going to do any more than is necessary. If somebody comes up to me and I get him down on the ground, I'm not going to stand there and start kicking him and beating them. And you know, once I get them on the ground, I want to get out of there. I'm going to run away. We call it Nike Jiu-Jitsu. Run fast. Get out of there really quickly. You know, and just get home. Be safe. Go find help. Go find a police officer. Go find someplace safe to be. Find a building, an office, a restaurant that you can duck into and be safe. So that's what we do. So again, it's not a sport-based system. It's all about street survival. It's basically dirty Israeli street fighting. Do what it takes. There's no rules. If you think of UFC or MMA type fights, if you guys have ever watched that, there's a referee, and there's certain things you can do and certain things you can't do. We focus on the things that you're not allowed to do in a tournament fight. So it's eye gouging, throat strikes, groin strikes, all the stuff that will get you disqualified in a professional fight, but will save your life on the street. And again, you know, doing with responsible actions and not doing more than is necessary to get out of a bad situation. We teach everybody. We teach civilians, law enforcement, military. The foundation of Krav Maga is the same for everybody. All the basics are taught to every level. The difference is how you finish it. Civilians are focused on diffuse a bad situation as quickly as possible and get out of there. Law enforcement is focused on contain and control, weapons retention, cuffing positions, get him in the squad car, you know, take him away, throw him in jail, that kind of thing. And then the military is focused on the lethal applications, which we, for liability reasons, we don't teach in our schools. We'll go to military bases and work with the U.S. military on a case-by-case basis. My business partner, David, who's been doing Krav Maga for almost 20 years now, he's been all over the world teaching various branches of the military. 2008, 2009, he had the opportunity to go to Japan and work with U.S. Marines. He was invited by the Marines to go over and train over there for a week each time. He's also been down to Quantico. He works very closely with the U.S. Marines in adapting Krav Maga into the Marine Corps martial arts program. So we're very closely aligned with law enforcement, with military branches. It's kind of interesting that we're in this room here. I'll give you a little bit of background on myself. Growing up, I didn't have any kind of karate or martial arts experience. A little bit when I was a kid at summer camp, but nothing major. A little over 5 years ago, I was in this room here for a seminar that David Kahn came down to put on. I saw it on the JCC email that came over. It said Krav Maga seminar Sunday, 1 o'clock. I said, well, this sounds interesting. I thought it was Jewish karate. I didn't know anything about it. I had no idea what it was. So I said, my schedule's free. Let me go check it out. I walk in the room. There's 3 other people, and I'm the youngest one there. And this is 5 years ago. So I'm 41 now, so I was 36. I'm the youngest one in the room going, oh, what did I get myself into? What's going on here? And David walked in. David's my age. Walked in, did a 2-hour presentation, and I fell in love with it. I thought it was just the coolest thing out there. It was very practical. It was very effective. It made sense. It wasn't tournament. It wasn't competition. It wasn't katas and forms. It was just realistic, effective, practical self-defense training, stuff that will save your life. So he invited me up to take a free trial class. We have another school up in the Bordentown area, about a half an hour north of here. He said, come on up, take a free class, see if you like it. I went up on a Wednesday night. Thursday night, I went back and signed up. A year and a half later, I got certified as an instructor, the instructor certification course that we put on, and started teaching a class here at the JCC. We're over in the yoga room around the corner. We had 30 people sign up for the first class that I put on here. And I was just blown away, because coming from the first session that I did, and there was 4 people in the room, to have 30 people sign up and really get interested in what we were doing was pretty exciting. So I went back to David and said, hey, we got a great interest down here. And his eyes lit up. Him and his brother also runs a school with him, and I was talking to them, and their eyes lit up. They said, wow, we always wanted to be in the Cherry Hill market. This is a great opportunity. If you're ever interested in doing something more full-term, let us know. I said, wow. So it happens that I've been out of work for a little while. Last company I was working for got bought out, and my job got eliminated, so I was kind of looking for something to do. So I said, great opportunity. So I scrounged up some money, went into business with them, and we opened up a school here in Cherry Hill. We're right down the street, right on Springdale Road on the other side of 70, right next to the Avalon Tile and the Garden State Discovery Museum. We've been here for 2.5 years now at that location. We're probably around 130 members now, and another 30 kids that we teach kids between the ages 7 and 12. And we have, the reason I was late, I apologize for being late. I had somebody walk in I wasn't expected, say, hey, I want to sign up today. All right, let's do this quick because I got to go. But the phone is constantly ringing. People are very interested in it. I don't think it's just because of what's been happening in the last 2 weeks, because of Israel. I would say the majority of my students are non-Jewish. There's just something about the IDF and the mystique of it, and how Israel can survive for so long, against the Arab community that is committed to the destruction of Israel. They're doing something right, and people are gravitate towards that and find it interesting. So I said majority of my students are not Jewish. They come from all over the place. I have people that come from Pennsylvania, all the way down from Gloucester and Salem County, that will drive 45 minutes to an hour for a class to train with us. So we're doing pretty good. So let me give you a quick little history about Krav Maga, where it came from, why it's here today, how it's all connected with Israel and all that. So Krav Maga was developed in pre-World War II Eastern Europe by a young man named Emil Lichtenfeld. He was probably in his 20s, late 20s. He was living in Slovakia, Bratislava. His dad owned a gym. He was a very physically fit guy, very involved in martial arts and athletics and wrestling and judo. His dad was also a police officer. In the late 20s, early 30s, as anti-Semitism was starting to become rampant in that area, he realized that as a young Jewish guy, him and his friends were subjected to daily beatdowns and intimidation and threats. So he took all of his knowledge of martial arts and put it together in a very comprehensive, tight-knit package of what can I do to get out of a bad situation quickly. One strike. Every strike's got to count. I can't sit there and stay and fight with somebody. If 2 people put their hands up, that's a fight. If somebody puts their hands up and I kick them in the groin or punch them in the face, that's self-defense, and then I run away. So it's not about getting into a fight or being a better fighter. It's about how to be safe and how to survive. So he developed the system, put it together, trained his friends, helped them save their lives, and go from there. He was involved in the Czech underground and resistance, and ended up in helping out and liberating Eastern Europe, and ended up in what was becoming Israel at the time in the early to mid 40s. And stories of his system and who he was and what he's been able to do got around to the people that were in charge of putting the IDF together at the time. They were developing and creating the IDF. So he was selected to be the chief hand-to-hand combat and self-defense instructor for the IDF. His system was adopted and put into place and is still in place today. So everyone who goes in the military, which as you know is everyone in Israel at the age of 18, they all go into the military, they all learn some form of Krav Maga. Obviously, depending on what your job is in the military, you learn a little bit more, you learn a little bit less. If you are riding a desk or sitting in a tank, you're probably not going to learn as much hand-to-hand stuff. The Israeli commandos and special forces spend anywhere from 1 to 2 years doing nothing but Krav Maga training, learning how to hone their skills at the highest levels. Emi retired from the military in the late 60s, and in the early 70s he created the Israeli Krav Maga Association to foster Krav Maga training to law enforcement and civilians, and really grow it outside of the military ranks to help people be safe. In the early 80s, he invited a handful of Americans to come over to Israel to train and learn Krav Maga so he could continue to develop Krav Maga and start branching it outside of the region. It started expanding out to Europe at that time, but he traveled over to the U.S. and had a handful of these really top martial arts guys from the U.S. come over. Of about 18 people that went through the course, 4 people graduated with full honors, full instructorships, go forth and spread the word of Krav Maga. A handful of people got a congratulations, you're an assistant instructor, good luck, and everybody else got a pat in the back, thanks for coming. It was an 8-week, very intense, long, full-day training session. I know 2 of the guys who went through it, and they said it was just some of the most grueling training they've ever been through. Of the 4 guys that came back here to train, only 3 of them are still involved in it. 1 is based down in Florida, 1's in California, 1's here in Philadelphia. David Kahn, who's my first instructor and now my business partner, he serves as the chief U.S. instructor for the Israeli Krav Maga Association. He stumbled across Krav Maga as well. He was down in Florida at law school and met a guy named Rick Blitzstein, who's one of the first Americans to learn Krav Maga, and started talking, started training with him, thought it was great. Came back up here, lives in Princeton, came back up to this area, and started training with the guy in Philadelphia. His name is Alan Feldman, with Alan for a little while. And then Alan and Rick said, all right, Dave, you need to go to Israel to start training because you're really taking this to the next level. So Dave went over, started training in Israel, and he came back here and again serves as the chief U.S. instructor for the Israeli Krav Maga Association. So that's how it all kind of got to where we are today. And then I met David here, and here we are in Cherry Hill. So before I go into some like practical hands-on stuff, I want to see any questions that you guys have about Krav Maga, about what we do, about anything related. Yes?
When you speak, when you talk about jiu-jitsu, judo, karate, and then going into this latest form that you're speaking about in martial arts, what's the basic difference?
Okay, good question. So there is no real...
Can you repeat the question?
So the question was, what's the real difference between like karate and jiu-jitsu and judo and wrestling and then what we do? So the interesting thing about Krav Maga is it's not its own unique system. It's a hybrid. It's a blend of a lot of different systems. So Emi took his knowledge of all these different areas, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, karate, judo, and just applied it all together to create Krav Maga. So what we do is not completely different from other systems. It's just the way we package it together. There's a lot of defenses when we're on the ground. We do a lot of ground defenses. The number 1 rule when you're on the ground is try and get up as quickly as possible. Again, because with no rules and no referee, if I'm on the ground, grappling with somebody, Murphy's Law will apply. My friends are going to be off in a bar drinking somewhere, and their friends are going to be over stomping on my head. So I can't worry about just this guy. I got to worry about are there other people around me. So when I'm on the ground, I want to get up as quickly as possible. But the concepts of wrestling and jiu-jitsu are all built into our ground defenses. When we're standing up, it's karate and aikido and drunken boxing and just street fighting and everything you can put together into a practical system. So when you take Krav Maga classes, if you have experience in other systems, you'll see a lot of similarities, and you just have to take what you know and package it into what we do and just learn some of the differences and how to blend it with using your hands and your feet. The boxers are really good at punches and things like that. Muay Thai fighters, Thai boxers are real good with their kicks. So it's kind of combining the kicks and the hands. Jiu-jitsu practitioners are really good on the ground. Wrestlers are really good on the ground. So it's how we transition them standing up and doing what they do when they're standing up. So it's a little bit of everything. So it's not that it's completely different. It just blends everything. It takes the best of all these different systems and packages it together into a really, really practical and effective system. What else?
What's the translation of Krav Maga?
Krav Maga, it literally translates into contact combat. That's what it means. Yes?
Is there another form of Israeli karate or combat that's actually that Israel would use, that somebody in Israel would teach?
This is what they teach in Israel. There are other. There's other names of it that it's been called. There's people that teach a system called Haganah, which is Hebrew for defense, which is kind of what started before Krav Maga came on board, and it's been adapted. There's other people who call it Krav Magan.
I was wondering, is there any in those other forms? Do you have any levels like a black belt?
Yeah. So all those other systems, with a section of wrestling, really have a belting system. So Krav Maga does have a belting system, but what separates Krav Maga's belt system from a lot of other systems is we're not a belt factory. This is not a system where you'll go in and every couple of months you take another belt test, and in 2 or 3 years you have a black belt and you check it off your list. I can move on to the next thing. I got my black belt in karate. I can go do something else. We do have a system. It's more for tracking how much you know and your experience level. For example, it takes about 9 months to get to the first belt level, and anywhere from 10 to 12 years to get to a black belt. So it's a very comprehensive system. But we teach everybody everything. So while there are levels, it's not a belt-driven system, it's a technique-driven system. So you could come in your first class and you're learning basic punching and kicking, or you're learning advanced weapons defenses, which come from the brown belt and black belt levels. Because the bad guys don't care. Somebody comes up to me and puts a gun in my head in the street, I can't go, you know, I learned that in 2 weeks. Can we reschedule this and come back and redo this? No, I mean, I got to be able to defend myself immediately, be able to go and get out of a situation quickly. Obviously, with a weapon scenario, the first defense is going to be compliance, because you don't know. But if I think they're going to shoot me anyway, I got a 50-50 chance of getting out of it at least. I think my odds are a little better after training for a little over 5 years. But I'm going to take that chance if I think they're going to shoot me anyway. So.
I have a friend for years. He told me the name. I couldn't remember the name, but he said it's a form of karate or something that they teach in Israel, and he has like a black belt.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for like 20, 30 years.
You know his name?
His name's Al Ackerman.
Al Ackerman, yeah, I know Al.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I know him. Al has been training with Alan Feldman, who was one of the original Americans to learn Krav Maga, since I think he was Alan's first student. When Alan came back here in the early 80s, he started training with Al. So Al's at the black belt level now. But yeah, he trains in Krav Maga. He trains with Alan Feldman. So yeah, I've met Al a number of times. So he's a good guy. But he's yeah, he actually had Al's one of the few people I know that had the opportunity to meet and train with Emi. Emi passed away in 1998, and Al had the chance to. I've seen pictures of him with Emi over here in the U.S. with him. Yes.
Can you give us a demonstration?
Absolutely, yeah. Let me one more question, then we'll go into a little hands-on stuff.
Are there things that are structured more for my age group?
Ah, okay. Yeah. So
these other guys are younger than me. You say kicking, I don't know.
All right, so here's what I really love about Krav Maga. Krav Maga is designed for everyone. It doesn't matter of your age, your gender, your physical ability, your size, your shape. None of that matters. It is designed for everyone. When I say everyone, the age range for my adult class in Cherry Hill is 13 to 76. And the only reason I stop at 76 is because that's the oldest student that I have right now. If somebody wants to come in, they're 106, I'll be more than happy to train them. I will train anybody. And what we do is you make it work for you. Krav Maga, the way we teach it, it's not a boot camp, military, drill sergeant type training, or old school martial arts where you're snapped to attention the entire time. It's done in a very casual, relaxed manner where you go at your own pace. Your 100% is going to be a lot different than somebody else's 100%. Right? If you see somebody next to you, just really tearing the bag apart and going super fast, you're looking at him and go, I can never do that. Well, you don't have to do that. That's his 100%. Your 100% is going to be a lot different. But as long as you're doing practical strikes, things that make sense, it doesn't matter. Krav Maga does not rely on strength like a lot of other systems. So again, if you think professional fight, boxing, MMA, wrestling, whatever, it's usually two people roughly the same size, roughly the same abilities, height, age, weight, reach, length, all that kind of stuff, who go at it, and it's a fight. On the street, it's the complete opposite. It's going to be somebody larger attacking somebody smaller. It's not skinny, scrawny little person going up to the bigger person and say, come on, I'm going to beat you up. Give me your money. It's going to be the opposite way around. It's going to be the bully mentality. Somebody bigger and stronger is going to pick on somebody smaller. Somebody who's bigger is going to pick on somebody smaller. So we don't rely on strength. Strength is out the window. Because what I teach to my 7-year-olds is the same thing as I teach to the 17 and 27 and 37 and 77-year-olds. It's focused on technique. Technique will beat strength every single time. And that's how it works for everyone. So if you came to my class, you'd be able to do the same exact defenses as everybody else in there. And you'd feel pretty good at that. We're going to get into a demo in a minute. Any other questions before we go to the demo on how some of this stuff works? Okay, so I'm going to show you just I need a volunteer. I need somebody who's going to be volunteered, apparently. It's one of those things where everybody takes a step back and the last person standing there.
Whoever's got the most hair?
Whoever's got the most hair.
There it is.
All right, I'll go.
Fearless leader.
All right, so come on over here. Come on over here. Okay.
Before you start, we hear the plan for succession.
Yeah, you have it written down somewhere? No. I'm not flipping them around or anything. I'm not. All right.
Don't let the fact that you sell security in the way of anything you want to do.
Do I need to have you guys sign liability waivers or anything before I start this?
No, but we'll cheer.
Yeah, we'll cheer.
Do you have any last words?
Who's vice president? Who takes over next? They'll be in the back cheering. You're in the back cheering. All right, so just a basic, simple thing. If I walk up to Jerry and just grab his arm here, what is his natural defense to get out of this? Pull back, right? He can't. So what he's doing, he's using strength, right? I don't want you to use strength. I want you to use technique. So what I want you to do, and I'll teach you this real quick, and everybody can learn. Yeah, you can do that. But if I'm standing sideways, and we'll talk about that in a minute, because again, that's what we want to focus on. Krav Maga, before I do, it's real funny. Krav Maga is becoming very big in pop culture, movies, TV shows. There was an episode of The Simpsons about 2 years ago that, so have you all seen The Simpsons? They go to Israel, Bart gets kicked in the groin by a little girl, and she goes, hello groin, welcome to Krav Maga, or, hello groin, and she says, no groin, no Krav Maga. So our unofficial mantra in the school is no groin, no Krav Maga. If you're not kicking them in the groin, you're not really doing Krav Maga. So you always want to be attacking the groin in some way. And at the same time, you want to protect yourself as well. I don't want to stand like this saying, hey, come on, let's fight. I got a big target on me. I'm going to stay a little more, bladed sideways, but being able to protect myself and attack them at the same time. So going back to the wrist release. Jerry, what you do is take your hand, grab your hand with the other hand,
okay,
and turn that way really fast. Yep, you got to take your other hand with you. Grab your hand, take this hand and grab it.
Grab it.
Yep, and turn. Like that.
It's easy to pull out.
Yeah, it's a lot easier because you're using technique. Right, one more time. Good. Now from there, what he's doing is, all right, this is where you guys can all learn it, sitting down. This is where my fingers are meeting, right? Do this and take your opposite finger and just go like this, right? It's real easy. You'll get out every single time. There's no, it's not a magic trick. It's not an illusion. This is a very weak joint, no matter how hard you squeeze. So I'm grabbing my hand around his wrist, right? My hand doesn't go all the way around his wrist, but there's where the thumb and the finger are meeting. So all he's doing is taking his hand and taking it out of this joint here. When he was going the other way, he was going against my palm. There's no exit point there, right? So I always want to look for the thumb and finger joint. So when I'm holding his hand here, he takes his other hand and turns. Now, if he grabs my hand, could I, same side, could I just do this by myself? Sure. But why not take my other hand and use my entire body weight against him, as opposed to just using my hand, my wrist? So we always want to take our opposite hand and put our entire core strength into it, get my hips involved, and use my entire body weight. That's where the technique comes in, where you're using your entire body against them, as opposed to and using their momentum against them. So again, he holds onto my hand. He holds it this way. Okay. So his thumbs and fingers are here. Just kind of roll my hand down. Okay. Yeah, so have that. Right. Right. So grab the other way. Right. Like this. Like that. So this is where I'll grab my hand here and just rotate it out. Right. If I grab your hands like this, where are my thumbs? My thumbs are up. I'm always looking for the thumbs. So grab your hand and pull straight up. Right. If I grab your hands up here, where are my thumbs? Behind. So come underneath. Come underneath. Pull your hands straight down. Yep. If I grab two hands like this, my thumbs are on the inside, just cross your arms. Just like that. Turn around a sec. If I grab your hands like this, same thing, cross your arms in front. Always going after. Careful, he's now a trained deadly warrior. Anybody's going after his job, he's going to fight for that job now.
Brown belt.
Boy, you're going to be surprised when you go home.
So, thank you. Okay. So that's just basic. That's just a quick... And again, that's taking technique and applying it, not strength. If I'm holding on Jerry's hand and he's pulling that way and I'm pulling this way, whoever's the strongest person is going to win, right? I start pulling him this way, he starts dragging his feet on his heels and gets pulled. Doesn't want that. I want to make sure that I can get out quickly. I can pull my own hand, find that joint, and get out. All right, I need another volunteer. Don't all jump up at once. Come on.
I was in the commando.
All right, so grab my hand here. Right, Eli, right? Yeah. He's going to pull me. Just start pulling back, right? And just start trying to take me that way, right? If I dig in here, this is a fight, right? He's going to pull me. I'm going to try and go this way. He's going to try and go that way. It's a tug of war. Now, who wins in a tug of war? Well, the strongest person, strongest team. I want to be the team that lets go of the rope and has the other team fall down. So he starts pulling back. No, you pull me. You pull me. Yeah, he knows what I'm going to do. I'm going to move into him. So here, I'll do it with you. You know what I'm going to do. I know. Right? So just go that way. Right? This is a fight. Right? We're going to pull each other. Now I want him to just kind of burst in. Just hit my hand, not my face, please. Just like that. He's using my momentum against me. So again, do it slowly. Just if you pull my arm, I'm coming in here. As opposed to going back and fighting, I'm taking his momentum that he's giving me. He's pulling me that way. Okay, I'm going to go that way.
Don't pull against me.
Well, he knows what he's doing. So, but if he's pulling me, why am I going to go this way and fight and try and break out of it? Why not just go forward, punch him in the face, or come in with a kick to the knee where I can then stop him and then run away? Again, Nike Jiu-Jitsu. Get out of there quickly. Get out as quickly as you can. So when somebody uses that momentum, use that momentum in your favor. Use it against them. All right? Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, one more. Who else? Who wants to volunteer? Don't all jump up at once now. I promise I won't hurt you.
You can hurt him.
Please no.
Okay. So, turn around a sec. He's like, do the wrist thing. I know the wrist thing. So, we talked, somebody's grabbing your hand, pulling it. What if somebody comes up behind and I grab his hoodie, I grab his shirt, I choking him and pulling him back, right? That's your natural defense. Kind of, uh-oh, I'm falling backwards. You have two choices. You can fall on your butt or you can defend yourself. I don't want to fall down. So, what I'm going to do, I'll show you first, right? And when you pull back, take a step back just so I'm not stepping your feet. All right, he pull back on my shoulder. Grab my shoulder. Oh, you can pull back a little harder than that. There you go. I'm coming back here and turning. So again, using that momentum. So I want you to do that now. Take whatever foot you step back with, all right? Turn that way. So if you step back with your right, turn to the right. Step back with the left, turn to the left. Good. Exactly. So what he's doing is he's just, instead of being pulled back like this off balance, stand like this, I'll just show you. Turn around this way. If I just give you a little push, what's his natural reaction? Here, face me. What's his natural reaction if I give him a little push? What's the first thing he did? Went back. What did he do? I don't know if you guys can see with his feet. What did he do with his feet? You guys in the front row. He took a step back. Why did he take a step back? Exactly, to catch his balance. He takes a step back here. It's a plant foot. It's like putting the brakes on, right? I'm not allowed to go back any further. I'm putting the brakes on. As soon as I put the brakes on, I turn. Face the attacker, and as I'm turning, I throw a punch. So I don't want that momentum to, if I start doing this, I'll fall backwards. Once I take that first step and turn, that's where you start using that momentum in your favor. I'm trying to pull him off balance, take the momentum, and drop him to the ground, or drag him off somewhere. He's going to stop and use that momentum against me, because as I'm moving backwards, he's turning in, now facing me, and flying in with a punch. All right, so one more time. Good, perfect. And again, this can be somebody with their hands around your throat, grabbing your shirt. He's got a hoodie on, pull the hoodie. Kids at school with backpacks. If you have long hair, women especially, pulling the hair, going back. That's where that all comes into play. So again, I'm using that momentum against me. Same thing if I were to push you forward. Again, you know what to do because you already showed. If I push forward, what are you going to do? You take a step, right? Instead of using this hand, use the other hand. I'm sorry, actually use this hand. Bring this hand just up and around, right? And right to my face. right? You're bringing it up and around. Now, I could just be standing here holding on and pushing him, or maybe I just give him a push like this, and now he's facing me. So he takes that step, and he's ready to go, because he doesn't know what's behind him. Something pushed him. He doesn't know what it is. So now he's ready to go. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. Got time for a little more?
Question.
Yes.
Knowing technique is one thing.
Yes.
Having the brains do it, what's involved with that?
Practice.
Okay, so.
Yeah, this is one of those things where it takes practice. Krav Maga is very reactionary. You have to be able to think quickly on your feet and move and just have the body react naturally. So it just takes practice. I mean, you might take a few things away from here and, you know, and be able to do them if you need, but on some of the more advanced stuff that we do, you really have to do it over and over and over again and really build the muscle memory so it becomes second nature. So that when somebody does put their hands around my throat, I know exactly what to do. When somebody puts their hands around me, when somebody puts a gun to my face or a knife to my throat, I know exactly what to do. So, is that it? Did that answer? Okay. Question, yes?
Does your program involve in any way anti-bullying?
Yeah, we do, especially with the kids class.
Yeah, could you tell me something about that?
So with the kids class, we teach kids age 7 to 12 and then in high school 13 and up. With my younger kids especially, because that's where bullying really starts at the younger age, we teach them the same exact things that we teach in the adult class. We don't change the curriculum. It's not a special curriculum just for the little kids and then the real Krav Maga for everybody else. The kids are learning the same exact thing the adults are. I temper that material a little bit. I strip out, not all of it, but some of the eye gouging, groin strikes, throat strikes with the kids, because I don't want them to go to school and, you know, somebody just pushes them and then all of a sudden they knee them in the groin and poke them in the eye. So we spend a lot of time talking to the kids about the differences between the school bully, who might just be pushing you around, or, you know, kicking sand on you at the playground, and the guy who's trying to throw you in the back of a van, you know, out in the parking lot, or somebody who's trying to grab you out of the mall. There's two differences, and we spend a lot of time making sure the kids understand what the differences are. So we'll talk about, from worst case scenario, somebody's trying to grab me off the street, or, you know, as I'm walking down, or I'm in the mall, do whatever it takes, bite, kick, scratch, claw, make a lot of noise, make a distraction, make people aware that something is wrong here. When it comes to being in school, it's hard with kids, but a lot of it is having a little bit of self-control and understanding that if somebody's mouthing off to you, it's just words. And try not to, you know, try not to let it affect you. Obviously, with kids, it's hard. They take everything personally, and they want to fight back and defend their honor and defend themselves. But I actually spoke to my daughter's PTA meeting. She's in 4th grade a couple weeks ago, and the principal was sitting right there, and I made the comment that it doesn't matter who starts it, you're both going to the principal's office. So first of all, make sure you're not throwing the first strike. And if you do need to defend yourself in a way that you're not going to get yourself in trouble. You know, somebody throws a punch at you, just try and move out of the way. Don't just move out of the way and try and hit him again. Try and move out of the way and go find help. Go find a teacher and say, this kid just tried to punch me. This kid tried to, you know, push me down. Knowing how to react when somebody pushes you, instead of getting pushed and falling, doing a face plant, being able to take that step. We teach kids how to fall down properly so they don't hurt themselves. If they do get pushed or knocked down, so that they don't knock their head in the ground and get a concussion. But it's hard. With bullying, it's really hard because you want to teach kids to do the right thing, but a lot of times they don't really, you know, somebody's pushing them and they want to fight back. They see it on TV, they're watching it, they're learning from different sources how to fight back. But I want to teach kids, when the kids come in, to have a little bit of restraint, control, understand that if somebody does start with them, don't be afraid to tell a teacher, don't be afraid to go tell a parent, and, you know, don't do something that's going to get yourself in trouble. So it's hard. It's a very tough topic, but we wade into that with the kids, definitely. Yes.
You might teach them what you're saying, but their parents might just do the opposite.
Yeah, you're going to get in a situation, the parent says somebody pushes you, punch them in the face. Yeah. So it's yeah, you know, then they're getting conflicting messages. So that's a tough one. Yes, I'll go there and then over here.
Does your training include more than one-to-one contact? Suppose there's 2 or 3.
Multiple attackers, yes. But again, because there's no rules on the street. So we do a lot of training scenarios where we're dealing with multiple attack scenarios. How to deal with 2-on-1, 3-on-1, 4-on-1, what you do in that situation. The best thing I can tell you if you're in a situation where there's multiple attackers is, I need 2 volunteers. I won't touch you, I promise. This is just visual. 2 volunteers, just right here in the middle. All right, one more. That's one. All right, good. All right, so I'll have you guys stand over here. Right? So these guys are trying to attack me. You can face me. These guys are trying to attack me. If I start attacking one, defending myself against one, I've given it my back, and now he's attacking me. I can't have that happen, and I can't keep going back and forth like this. It's not like you see in the movies where I can just, you know, do this, right? I want to make sure. I use a lot of goofy analogies in my training. The analogy I use on this is like in football. The pocket the quarterback stands in, the pocket collapses, the quarterback gets sacked. These guys start moving into me, that pocket is gone, I'm going to get squished, right? No good. So what I want to do is be on the outside. I want to try and constantly move around so I have these guys in a line. So now I'm fighting Larry here. Don's trying to get around me to the outside, right? He moves around, he start moving this way. I'm going to keep moving this way. If he moves around that way, I'm just always keeping one guy in front of me and one guy behind.
He's going to get hurt because we're both.
Well, yeah. Well, what's going to happen is once I start taking him out a little bit, he's getting a little woozy, he's not much of a threat, right? You start coming around, I can move over and start attacking you, right? Because I've dispatched with him, I've knocked him to the ground. Where he comes back up, I just keep moving back and forth. Thanks, guys. So I want to make sure that in a multiple attack situation, I'm always on the outside, never in the middle. I never want to keep crisscrossing back and forth in the middle. So we spend a lot of time, we do a lot of drills, a lot of tag drills or capture the flag drills. Put a flag on somebody and say defend against 2 people trying to get you. So yeah, we talk a lot about those scenarios. Yes?
Have you ever had to use your skills to defend yourself?
No. No, I have not. And I hope I never do. I feel confident that if I needed to, I'd absolutely be able to, but I hope I never do. I can tell you the one story that my partner / instructor, David, always tells is he was in a subway in New York City years ago, or after he started, just kind of new into the training, started training. It was late at night. He was sitting there by himself, and some shady character starts walking down the train. And he was a little intimidated. And the guy got a little closer. He stood up, got in a kind of a passive-aggressive stance. Didn't put his hands up, just kind of a passive-aggressive stance, and said something to the effect of, "I view you as a threat to my life, and I'm prepared to defend myself." The guy kind of like, "What?" It's like, "I view you as a threat, and I'm prepared to defend myself." I was like, "You're crazy." Just kind of walked away. So there are different levels of self-defense. Yeah, it's a goofy story, but it worked. He was able to get himself out. I'll get your question in 1 sec.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. So there's different levels of self-defense that we really try and focus on. One is avoidance. If you can avoid a situation, great. If like physically avoid the situation by not going somewhere where I know somebody wants to beat me up, perfect. A couple shady characters walking down the street, if I stay in front of them, I'm not avoiding it. If I walk across the street or in a building, I'm avoiding the situation. Somebody throws a punch at me, I move out of the way, I'm avoiding the situation. Level 2 is verbal de-escalation. If I can talk my way out of it, kids at school, bullies, right, high school, all the way to this type of situation where you're just talking your way out of it and nothing happens, great, no problem. Third level is what we call escape and evade. Run quickly, fast. Nike Jiu-Jitsu, get out of there as quickly as possible. Somebody wants to beat you up, turn and run quickly so you're not in that situation. And the fourth level is pure self-defense. You can't avoid it, you can't talk your way out of it, you can't run, you have to just instinctively react. Somebody's standing here and they throw a sucker punch at me, my hand comes up, I block it and I counter-strike. That's just instinctive reactive.
I just want to know if any of your students have had a need to use your methods.
Yes, I have. I do have some students that have used it before. I have a police officer, this is probably about, I want to say, a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, where he told me the story. He was in training for maybe 2 months. He's a big guy, and he's a police officer in Pennsauken, and they were serving an arrest warrant, and they opened the door, and some guy came flying out with a punch. He sidestepped, did this defense that I taught him, where you sidestep and just his hand comes down here. You stand it 1 sec? I promise I won't hurt you. Much. Hold your hand out like this. You throw a punch. Just here, I'm sidestepping out and throwing a counter punch like this. I'm avoiding. Here, turn on the switch. So everybody see? I'm avoiding the punch, right? Getting off line, and I'm counter striking. He did that to a guy, knocked him on his ass, and threw the cuffs on him and got him out of there. So, and I have had some other students who've told me situations where they have used it.
On TV last week where a young lady in Center City was walking down the street late at night.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, she got cut in the face.
He came up behind her and
yep.
slashed her. How would she have protected herself.
Funny you should ask that.
After having, you know, I mean, he came right up.
Excuse me one sec, Jerry.
Jerry.
Funny you should ask that. I brought a prop. All right. Who wants to volunteer now? Nobody. I promise I won't hurt you. Come on, you want to volunteer? Anybody?
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Okay. So I don't know the exact scenario. You're going to be the bad guy in a minute, but I'm going to be the bad guy now. I come up to you, put a knife to your throat like this, or like this. There's different ways to do it. So you get to be the bad guy now, and I promise I won't hurt you. All right, do it in this hand, just so these guys are going to see. Right, it comes up here. First thing I want to do is just put your head over here. Safety first, because I'm going to headbutt you in a minute if you don't.
Okay.
I want to come here. I need to control the weapon, right? The weapon's here on my throat. I need to move my head back and pin his hand right to my chest, right? If I don't, if I look down or look forward, it's going to cut me. So I need to be here. And then what I do is I just kind of sidestep around. Well, no. Jam the knife right into his kidney, right? Now, what I will say is when you take the knife out, if you happen to stick him, okay, if you do this, not so good, not so good. Thank you. So yeah, so I'm going to come here, pin it, don't want to lose that. Pin it, step around, and then use that to either, I can put the knife behind them and kind of chicken wing their arm until they drop the knife, or if I happen to stab them, I stab them. If they get cut in the heat of the battle, too bad. It's for them. You know, I'm not advocating stabbing somebody, but they get cut in the heat of it, they brought a knife. If you step out and start doing this, take the knife, and not so good for you. It's not so much self-defense anymore. Yeah.
If you actually got in a situation where you had to use this, do you have to warn somebody that you're a professional, right? I mean,
they have a knife. Excuse me, I know you have a knife to my throat. I'm going to give you the count of 3 to get rid of it, or you're going to die.
but I thought you said your partner Dave
yeah.
up and said.
So he did. He did a verbal de-escalation because he didn't know what the threat was over there. He was sitting here. He just felt a little intimidated. It's a little different when somebody's got a knife to your throat, right? If somebody's there and they start, nobody has a right to be within your personal space. If I start moving up to you like this, and you just let me, well, that's your fault. Right. Somebody starts moving up to me that in my personal space who I don't know, even some of my friends who I do know, I'm going to tell them to get back, right? Step back. You're getting a little too close. I'm not comfortable here. You know, you give me a warning. That's kind of the warning shot. I'm not comfortable. Please step back. They start getting in your face, then you've given them the warning. You're not comfortable. You're going to have to protect yourself. So if you can talk your way out of it, if you can avoid the situation, avoid any situation by, trying to calmly negotiate your way out of it, don't come any closer. I don't feel comfortable. I don't want to have to hurt you. Please, please step back. They get in my face, and then they are knowingly crossing that line that I've drawn in the sand. I have a guy that came in to visit me who is an expatriate living in South Africa. And he said everybody in South Africa, for the most part, all the locals, have pretty much been in jail at some point. In the town that he lives in, Cape Town, have been in jail. So they have this thing in jail that says, give me 5 feet. So if you walk around and you say, if somebody gets too close, you say, give me 5 feet, they usually kind of step back because it's kind of ingrained in their head. But give me that space. And whether you say that or whether you just say, back away, you're in my personal space, I'm not comfortable. You're putting your hand out to kind of extend that space as opposed to, hey, back away, right? I'm kind of stepping away here. Give me a little bit of room. I don't want to have to use this stuff if I don't have to. But if somebody's going to force my hand and get too close to me, put their hands on me, when they put their hands on me, it's a different story. We have, and I'll kind of wrap up with this. We have a defense called the rule of thumb. We talked about eye, throat, and groin. Rule of thumb. If you find your cheek, you can find their eye. So everybody take your right hand, put it in your left cheek. Right? Take kind of the center of your palm right on the cheekbone. If you can find the cheek, you can find the eye. Somebody puts their hand to me, I'm taking my thumb and jamming it in their eye. All right? They have 2 choices. They can let go, or they can lose their eye. Doesn't take a lot of pressure how much pressure does it take to dislodge an eyeball? It's my eye doctor over here. How much pressure does it take to dislodge an eyeball? Not much, not much. The statistics, the numbers I've heard is like 3 or 4 pounds of pressure, dislodge an eye or pop an eye. It takes 16 pounds of pressure to crush an empty can of soda. So if you can do this with a can of soda, not completely flat, just crush the sides in, you can take somebody's eye. And again, my goal isn't to go in there and carve it out. It's if they're going to put their hands on me, they're going to choke me, put their hands on my body, I'm going to put my hand right to their eye. If it's like a chess game. Krav Maga is just a big giant chess game. They make a move, I make a move. I'm giving them a counter. They want to counter, however they want to counter is up to them. So they put their hands on me, I put my hand to their eye. They're going to let go, fine, back away. If they're not going to let go, I'm going to take their eye or I'm going to take my knee right in their groin. So it's one of those situations. I'm going to kind of let them decide how it's going to go, and I'll defend myself based on what I'm presented with. The thing that I like about Krav Maga is it's not katas or forms of traditional martial arts. It's completely improvised based on the situation you find yourself in. You find yourself in a certain situation, you defend yourself a certain way. Somebody throws a punch at you, you defend based on a punch. Somebody throws a kick at you, you defend against a kick. Somebody has a weapon, you defend based on that. So no two situations. I can teach you 100 different defenses. You walk out the street and there's the one scenario I haven't taught you and that happens, so you just have to make it work. I teach people certain defenses. We usually break it down into steps to show it how it works. But maybe the dynamics change. Maybe they fight back in a way that we didn't showcase in the class. So you have to be able to improvise and adapt and make it work for you as each situation rises. Yes?
Do you have any people get hurt in your class?
Number one rule in the school is no one gets hurt. Don't hurt yourself, don't hurt your training partner. Everything is done very much under control. Now, have there been injuries, minor injuries? Yeah, people get banged up a little bit. No major injuries. Nobody's broken a bone or, tore a knee or a ligament or anything like that. Nobody's lost an eye. The training is done very, very much under control. When we go to the eye, we'll put it on the forehead or the eyebrow, just to make sure I'm not jamming my finger in somebody's eye. When we do some light sparring, we'll put on gloves and shin guards and mouth guards, and everybody's well protected. So, yeah, Amy's philosophy on training was don't get hurt in training because it won't help you on the street. He was, years ago, before Krav Maga, he was at a judo tournament, and he traveled from Slovakia all the way to wherever he was going. It was a big, huge commute. And he was in the warm-up room practicing, and he hurt himself, and he couldn't compete. He had to go all the way home. And he said, he came up with this philosophy. He says, don't get hurt in practice. It doesn't help you out. So I tell it to my students, too. If you get hurt in here and you're out limping, you're out with a cast on your arm, you make yourself more of a target for the bad guys, because now they perceive that as a weakness that they can exploit. So you want to make sure that you're not out there. You're not in a situation where they can take advantage of you. So if you get hurt in training, it doesn't do no good. Yes?
Not that it's anybody in this group, but older people often use canes and other devices.
Interesting segue.
Do you use those devices?
Yeah, it's funny when you walk in when you first walk in my studio on the left-hand side, there's a row of about 40 bamboo canes, walking canes. And the first question I get is, what's with the canes? And we use them for a couple of things. One is when we do long gun defenses, we have blue guns, fake guns. We have 6 rifles and shotguns. And if we have a lot more people than that, we'll use the canes as part of that. We also use them for some other drills. But we use them in what we call the weapons of opportunity category. So I have 10 different elbow strikes that I throw. Different angles, all different directions that I can throw. Elbow strikes are very close and intimate, right? I have to be really close to my attacker to hit them with an elbow. If I take a cane, I've now distanced myself slightly. I've added another 2.5 feet, depending on how I hold the cane, to create some distance between myself and my adversary. So yeah, so we use the cane, and I can take the cane and I can sit there and I can whack somebody in the knee or whack him in the head, take the hook around, hit him in the groin, whatever. So yeah, we use canes in those classes. Actually, my first student who was in his 70s came in one day and said, listen, I live in Philadelphia, there's a bunch of punk kids that are in my neighborhood. I don't use a cane, but I keep one just handy. What do I do with it? So we did a whole class based on elbows, and I said, all right, everybody grab a cane. We're doing the same exact class. We're going to use it with a cane. The cane could be a cane. It could be a walking stick. It could be an umbrella. It could be something, stick you find on the ground. Anything you can find in the weapons of opportunity category that you can use to defend yourself. So yeah, we teach people how to use canes.
Have you seen Krav Maga in the movies at all, like James Bond?
Oh yeah, it's in the movies all over the place. There's a lot of different Krav Maga organizations out there, separate from the one that we're affiliated with. But there's a big operation based out in California, and they have access to all the Hollywood types. And they've done a really good job in terms of branding Krav Maga and get brand recognition and getting it into the movies. So there's a lot of movies where it gets put into, and you can see where there's Krav Maga elements in there. A lot of the Jason Bourne movies have it. There's a movie with Jennifer Lopez called Enough. years ago, where she's a victim of domestic violence. She goes out and learns Krav Maga to defend herself. It's been in a lot of TV shows. Pop culture is really picking up on it. It's becoming very, very popular these days.
You have a walker. What do you do?
You have a walker, what do you do?
Stay home. I haven't gotten to the gurney yet.
I would say it depends on how much mobility you have. You can use it to help balance yourself if you need to do a kick with somebody. So actually, I'll tell you, I'll end with this. I have one of my students I do a private training with. He's a real estate developer here in Cherry Hill, but he had a stroke about 8 years ago, and he lost mobility on his left side. So he said, how can I defend myself? And he's got a lot of rental properties, and if he needs to buy a building and kick people out to renovate the buildings, he deals with some shady characters sometimes. How do I defend myself? So I've been working with him every Monday for the last couple weeks, doing stuff that works for him. So he can't use his left side, so everything we do is based on the right side. I have him stand with his right foot forward, showing him how to defend with just this hand, how to move, how to react, how to lean back on his leg as best he can to kick with his front leg. So we modify it and make it work for you. Doesn't matter. One of my business partners also teaches a class in Conshohocken on Tuesday and Thursday nights, and he teaches a guy in a wheelchair. And he focuses on just upper body stuff and stuff that works for him. So we teach anybody. Krav Maga, I say, it works for everybody. Any other questions? Good. Yes, I've got some stuff here. I'll leave it with these guys for you. I've got just some schedules. I didn't know how many to bring. So I'll leave a handful of these flyers about us. And then if anybody wants, I'll leave some guest passes. You guys are welcome to stop by anytime. Try out a class if you like, or friends, family, have them stop by and learn what we do. All right? And if you ever see a big giant ambulance that says Krav Maga, that's me driving around. I have my Krav Mobile. So, there we go. I bought an old ambulance and had it wrapped, and it's got pictures of people beating each other up on the side. So, all right. Without any more, thank you guys very much.
We actually have a thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Certificate of appreciation, which I know you'll put up in the
wall
absolutely. With all your action figures.
Absolutely. We have a wall of fame in the school. We have pictures, letters from different events that we've done. So yeah, it'd be great. We do a lot with the JCC. And actually, I'll end with one thing. I want to plug an event if you guys don't mind. We just did an event a couple weeks ago to help raise money for Jewish Family and Children's Services for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I'm doing another event 1 week from today. It's from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock at my school. I can get you guys flyers if you didn't have any today. It's a fundraiser to raise money for two organizations. The Friends of the IDF. It's an organization called FIDF, if you've ever heard of that. Right. We've gotten really closely aligned with them with their South Jersey and Philadelphia chapter, and JCRC, so David Snyder, which they run the Holocaust Museum downstairs. So the whole idea of Krav Maga, the Friends of the IDF, the Holocaust Museum downstairs, it all kind of ties into where Krav Maga came from, where it is now, and where it is today. So we're doing that. So if any of you guys want to come, it's $36 a person. All the money goes right to the FIDF and JCRC. We don't keep any of it. It's all getting donated out. So if you guys want some information, I can email you guys.
Thank you. Yes, very much. We'll send it around.
All right. Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, turn around for the picture. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure.
Really good.
Thanks.
Oh, here, Don, one more responsibility.
Winning share is $52.
Here you go.
I changed my mind, I'm not going.
325-333.
Right after me. Who's ever after me?
So that's it. There will be a meeting in December. I think it's last Sunday in December. Okay. There will be an investment club meeting.